Every NBA champion needs a good leader, whether it's the best player on the team or a strong veteran presence that will help guide the guys to the promised land. Despite who you think's the better player between Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, Curry's not as talented as KD, but he's the heart and soul of that Golden State team, unquestionably the leader of that franchise. Even though Draymond is more vocal, showing his intense emotions, Dub Nation belongs to Steph. LeBron James is also amongst one of the best leaders in the NBA, the face of the Lake Show, while other young superstars in Giannis and Anthony Davis carries the heavy load with their respective teams. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Every championship contender relies on somebody who can take over games and to be a positive influence in the locker room. Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, and Chauncey Billups are perfect examples and were one of the best leaders of the 2000s, putting their teams on their shoulders, often responding when things get tough, making big plays time and time again. But some of the teams who are currently in the bottom of the standings not only lack talent, but simply doesn't have a guy on the roster everyone can rely on when things get tough. Here are 5 current NBA teams that lack leadership. The Brooklyn Nets. After a couple years of not being able to pursue any lottery picks, Brooklyn will finally have the chance to earn their first round pick this coming draft. Caris LeVert is clearly the best player on the team, will miss some time recovering from his injury. Since then, the team struggled mightily to close out games, collapsed late in the fourth time and time again. After leading by 23 against OKC, everyone just melted on the pressure. After a heartbreak defeat, Brooklyn had as many blown double-digit leads as they had wins at 8 each after the Paul George game winner. Blew a 20-point lead against Philly, losing to Jimmy Butler's game-winning shot, lost a 7-point lead to the Memphis Grizzlies, falling in double OT. Former second overall pick D'Angelo Russell continues to make foolish plays, especially towards the end of games, still has plenty of maturing to do, has not taken the next step yet. While guys like Joe Harris and Rondae Hollis-Jefferson are just role players, the only veteran presence they have is Jared Dudley, who's one of the worst players in the NBA. Started 20 of 28 games so far, with averages of 4.3 points on 38% shooting. Dudley's never been anything more than an average role player. Same goes with Damari Carroll. 20-year-old Jared Allen has the most potential as a solid center on the team, a promising guy for many years. It's not until when LeVert comes back Brooklyn will be able to close out games. The team still needs to search for their leader. The Washington Wizards, who's in a ton of mess with the players not getting along. John Wall's one of the best point guards and the best player on the team, but he's simply not a leader. As dysfunctional as the franchise there is, with 2 All-Stars, they are certainly good enough to make the playoffs in the East. It would be an absolute travesty if both Wall and Beal stays the whole season, failing to make the postseason. Perhaps it might be better if the team just blows it up, start from scratch. They're not getting anywhere anytime soon. With Wall and head coach Scott Brooks exchanging blows at practice at the early part of the season, Beal showed his frustration, directed towards Wizards GM Ernie Grunfeld. Nobody on the team's able to put their differences aside and just focus on winning basketball games. Otto Porter has not improved since getting his absurd contract, is nothing more than a role player. Dwight Howard has his off-the-court problems, is more of a distraction than an asset to the team. At least somebody's gonna be gone very soon. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who everyone knew was gonna be a disaster after LeBron left for the second time. 19-year-old Colin Sexton's the future of that team, where it'll likely be a while that they will be good again. They'll certainly be in the mix for Zion, putting themselves in the bottom of the Eastern Conference. It will be very shocking if Kevin Love stays all 4 years after signing his contract. Will be out until at least mid-January following foot surgery. The 30-year-old power forward has been hampered by injuries and will likely start declining. Did not have any success in his earlier years with the Timberwolves, putting up empty stats. At least Daly getting traded back to the land will give the fans something to cheer about, and role players in Rodney Hood and Jordan Clarkson will have the green light to jack up as many shots to earn their next contract. Seeing Sexton develop and getting a high lottery pick in the 2019 draft will be the only 2 things Cavs fans will be optimistic about going forward. The Phoenix Suns, who's been one of the worst franchises this decade, has been terrible for quite some time, hasn't made the playoffs since 2010. While veteran Trevor Ariza will likely be on his way out very soon, Eric Bledsoe forced his way out of town, so did Tyson Chandler. Devin Booker's been their best player pretty much since his rookie season. Even after drafting first overall pick DeAndre Ayton, the franchise is still a mess. Although he could become an all-star caliber player for many years, you bet the Suns are already regretting not taking Luka Doncic. With a league worst 4 and 23 overall, they'll likely draft one of the Duke guys. Losers of 9 straight and being outscored by 11.4 points, the team's as discombobulated as it gets. fired GM Ryan McDonough a couple weeks into the season, while firing head coach Earl Watson 3 games into last season, drafting huge busts in Alex Lynn, Marquise Chris, Dragon Bender, and potentially Josh Jackson. When the 2019 draft arrives, it will feature a Suns team that's been in the lottery for 10 out of the last 11 years. Even rookie Mikal Bridges has had enough of head coach Igor Kokoshkov. With 22-year-old Devin Booker the only lone bright spot, Phoenix was lucky enough to draft him at 13. With no real point guard, Coach Kokoshkov tried to use him as a James Harden type ball handler, which isn't his game. Don't be surprised if D-Books ask for a trade within the next year. Finally, the Chicago Bulls, as messy as any team can get, now hitting rock bottom, getting blown out by the Kings at home, booed off their home floor. Their pathetic 56-point loss to the Celtics were so bad after the firing of head coach Fred Hoiberg. The players have not respected coach Jim Boylen one bit. The players had to reach out to the National Basketball Players Association regarding what they believe were extreme tactics used by Boylen, who held 3 2.5-hour practices in his first week that included extra wind sprints and players doing military-style push-ups. The players consider multiple alternatives, including a boycott of the practice and a walkout Sunday. They eventually showed up but refused to practice, held multiple players-only meetings. Seems like Boylen already lost the team, perhaps reaching the breaking point. By not putting up with what coach does, the players told him straight up, "You're not Greg Popovich," as a former assistant to Coach Pop. With a bunch of young guys in Zach LaVine, Larry Marketing, Jabari Parker, and Chris Dunn, Robin Lopez is the only veteran presence around the team. As ugly a situation as it can get, you wonder if the players will just quit playing hard until a new head coach takes over. There's simply no excuse losing by over 50. It's not only that it's embarrassing, anytime an NBA team loses by more than 50 points, every player on the roster deserves to pay a $10,000 fine. Just my opinion. A month into the season, rookie Wendell Carter says the team goes their separate ways, rarely huddling unless it's a timeout. The Bulls are still trying to figure out their identity. It must be a terrible feeling for Carter Jr. to play under Coach K, one of the best coaches all time, to go into the pros dealing with this mess. With Dunn, Portis, and Marketing finally back from injury, the team will have a lot of figuring out to do. Still has a chance to turn it around this season, but you wonder who's going to step up. I didn't mention teams like the Atlanta Hawks and Minnesota Timberwolves because they have good veteran presence in Vince Carter and Derrick Rose, who's been a positive for all the young players. The Magic are showing some good signs as well, with Nikola Vucevic and Evan Fournier leading the way. Thank you so much for watching this video. I talk NBA comparisons, amazing storylines, NBA history, and anything basketball that will interest you. If you love the NBA, subscribe to my channel. More great stuff coming soon. See you next time.